All right, so we've framed the discussion. I want to pause it here. I want to talk a little bit about immigration. So joining me now from New York, one of the leaders of the so-called Gang of Eight, Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer. Senator, welcome back to Meet the Press. Let me get to the news of the morning. Is a deal at hand for immigration reform? We know about this issue having to do with visas and wages between the business lobby and the labor lobby. Is a deal done?
Well, with the agreement between business and labor, every major policy issue has been resolved on the Gang of Eight. Now, we've all agreed that we're not going to come to a final agreement until we see draft legislative language, and we agree on that. We've drafted some of it already. The rest of it will be drafted this week. And so I am very, very optimistic that we will have an agreement among the eight of us next week. Senator Leahy has agreed to have extensive markup and debate on the bill in April, and then we go to the floor in, God willing, in May. I think we're on track.
You were quoted as basically saying the deal is near, the deal is at hand, and all of that coverage got Senator Rubio, Marco Rubio, Florida Republican, who's part of this Gang of Eight, to say, whoa, 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 no deal. Yet, that we're closer. So is there a disagreement between the two of you on how close we are to a deal?
It's semantics. Business and labor have an agreement on the future flow, which has been the issue that has undone immigration reform in the past. So this is a major, major obstacle that's overcome. Each of us has to look at the language and approve it, but I don't think on the business-labor side there's any disagreement. There's lots of, but as Senator Rubio correctly says, we have said we will not come to final agreement till we look at all of the legislative language, and he's correctly pointing out that that language hasn't been fully drafted. There'll be little kerfuffles, but I don't think any of us expect there to be problems.
If you lost Senator Rubio in this Gang of Eight, if he walked away from the negotiations, would that put in the entire immigration bill in jeopardy?
Well, first of all, I don't think he'll walk away. He's been an active and strong participant. He's had a lot of input into the bill. Obviously, his views are not the same as the other seven of us. Every one of us has different views. But I expect that we're going to have agreement.
But you need him. If you don't have him, this bill is suddenly in jeopardy.
You know, I'm not even going to speculate about that. I talked to Marco yesterday. We had great conversations. And he is protecting some of the things that he thinks are very important in the bill. But I don't think that'll stand in the way in any way of any final agreement. I think we're all on track.
You say this issue between business and labor was the last major hurdle. But is border security solved, this issue of metrics and border security solved? I want to play a little bit of what President Obama said in an interview with Telemundo earlier this week on that issue.
Regardless of how much additional effort we put in on the borders, we don't want to make this earned pathway to citizenship a situation in which it's put off further and further into the future. There needs to be a certain path for how people can get legal in this country, even as we also work on these strong border security issues.
You spent last week on the border with some of your fellow members of the Gang of Eight, including Jeff Flake, who will be on the show here in just a minute. This issue of border security and the metrics involved before launching the pathway to citizenship, that's been resolved?
Well, I was very glad to go to the border, and you see the expanse of it. It's huge, and the terrain is different in many different places, and it gave me, someone from New York City, a real appreciation of the different problems in Arizona. So, look, we've come to a basic agreement, which is that first, people will be legalized, in other words, not citizens, but they'll be allowed to work, come out of the shadows, travel. Then we will make sure the border is secure. And we have specific metrics that are in the bill. I'm not going to get into what they are, to make sure that that happens. And after that happens, there's a path to citizenship. And I think there's agreement among the eight on all of us. And I think most of the American people agree with that we should certainly do. We've made a great deal of progress in securing the border. I'm sure Jeff would say that. But I would join him in saying we have to make more progress.